So, we looked at Arnaapik, right, which is this new 6-part documentary series, right? It's it's tough, man, right? It's looking at violence against Inuit women. And it's from Kingulit Productions. We have got directing the piece, right? Lucy Tulugarjuk, Maia Iotzova, and Miali Buscemi. Writing, we have got Gillian Robinson, Maia Iotzova, Miali Buscemi, and Robyn Angilirq. Producing, it's Gillian Robinson, Jonathan France, and Lucy Tulugarjuk. Executive producing is Madeline Evalu and Zacharias Kunuk. Line production is from Marcelo Gomez. The actors involved, we have Miali Buscemi as LSB. Her sister Annie is played by Savannah Mamgark LaChapelle. Their mother is played by Angeline Ilvalu. And a younger version of LSB is played by Clarissa Murphy-Samson. And a younger version of Annie is played by Alexa Morency Dubuc. The people being interviewed throughout the series, we have got Lillian Dimitrik, Anne Hansen, Annie Hickey, Beatrice Deer, Charlotte Wolfrey, Chelsea Makula Upahuk Prusky, Deborah Quanak, LSB Isaac, Jerry Sharp, Jackie Nokolok, Jimmy Kuyok, Judith Nulujuk, Laurie Idulut, Madeline Ilavu, Martha Grieg, Mary Simon, Nakuset, Nansianan Gray, Nathan Obed, Nicole Dicker, Noel Kalujak, Sarah Angana Nayap, Therese Utak, and Thomas Angushaduluk. On cinematography, we have Kristen Brown. Editing the piece is Megan Tesla and Maia Iotzova. On music, we have LSB Isaac, who also performed the song Arnaapik, and who else do we have? Beatrix Deer Band performed Tutatavik Score Cemetery. Yeah, people, I butchered all of those names. So I fully apologize, right? Boy. Okay, so what is this about, you may ask? Well, we have this, right? Lucy Tulugarjuk, she said, violence can be broken down. We have to stop this cycle of violence. We have to stop the shame, right? The 6-part docu-drama series delves into the current crisis of violence against Inuit women and girls within Canada. With a sensitivity and deep understanding, the female director trio uncover the layers of colonial, cultural, and systemic factors contributing to this crisis. To allow different perspectives and emotions, the directors chose to use partly a fictional approach to give a poignant layer of a narrative, taken from real-life experiences and other histories of a young Inuit woman, Gillespie, searching for answers and solutions around the death of her mother due to domestic violence. Gillespie comes into her own awareness around both her grief and beginning a serious search for answers to this tragedy and epidemic of violence. As she follows this search, so do the real people interviewed also open up and discuss this subject of violence in conversations with the directors. Through these 6 episodes, the viewer is led on a journey of discovery, hard truths, incredible resilience, and empowerment and hope for a better future. Okay, so yeah, it's 6 episodes. So I took a look at the first 2, right, which is talking with elders and then confronting the system. And yeah, this was like really interesting because, you know, it's one of those things because everyone knows domestic violence is a thing, right? But we only really hear about it like on a local level or on a Western world level, right? We don't hear about it on a global scale. And we don't really hear anything about like the Inuit population, you know? And there is so much happening to that community, right? And in a detrimental way from large-scale organizations, companies, right? From just cultural differences, economic situations, right? So I think a lot of these things are like factors, are repercussions from, you know, this greater neglect. So this series, right, it really does shine a light on that. And I think it's also helpful for that community to see people talking about this because we do know, right, that these type of things, it like people don't want to talk about them, right? People do feel ashamed, right? They feel embarrassed that, you know, this thing happened to them, that they feel that they let it happen to them, right? And they don't want people looking at them like in pity or, you know, like, why didn't you leave? And how could you let that happen? And, oh, you let your children go through, right? So you don't want any of that, right? And also you're trying to get past it. So keep on bringing it up in conversations. It's tough, right? Because you're constantly then reliving this thing. So I think it's important, right? To have people talk about it, because it kind of encourages other people too. Because only then can we work to prevent this thing. Can we put in, adjustments and systems, initiative schemes, right, to counter it, to help people get past it and all of this, right? So that first episode, Talking with Elders, that again is very important, right? Because I think sometimes you find that people have gone through something aren't necessarily the ones to be like, leave, or there's ever be like, oh, well, I got through it, so you can get through it, right? I had to bear it, so why can't you bear it, right? Sometimes there is that kind of attitude towards these things, right? And not in a, it's not necessarily in a mean way, but it's just kind of like, well, this is how it is, right? Because there was that time when, people would frowned on for getting divorces, right? The church especially would be like, oh, no one can get a divorce. You had to go and ask the Pope and be like, yo, is it all right if, and it had to be these serious reasons for it. So, you know what I mean? And that's in Christianity, but just in all religions, right? The certain things were frowned on. So, you know what I mean? When you've grown up in that environment, that's the way you look at things, right? So a lot of these elders, they are just kind of framing things from their own experience, from them growing up in this situation. So, you know what I mean? Like, some people will have that. So if you're asking them for advice, you might not be getting necessarily the things that you want or need to hear. So this episode, it kind of looks at all of that, and it's talking through these different experiences. But we do have elders, right, who are talking about, right, the harm of the situation, right, being, put into an arranged marriage, right? Because that, again, that's what used to happen, back in the day. And again, that's something that would happen in so many different cultures, right? Even, people oftentimes, right, especially in countries like England, will go, oh, well, that never happened to us. Like, that used to happen, right? Back in the day, that used to happen a lot, right? Because it was about furthering the family situations. So, we know, like, the royal family, aristocracy used to do these things, but even the working class, because it would be, oh, if my daughter marries into that family, oh, we could get more acres of land, right? We've got sheep, they've got land. It's perfect. So deals like that would be made. You know what I mean? So we have people talking through those situations. We have the younger generation talking about, going into marriages and situations that have happened to them, which is, like, it's always helpful hearing from, like, the old and the young, right? To get those different perspectives, see where they meet and all of that, right? So, yeah, this was really interesting. And then we get this kind of fictional, play essentially kind of acting out. And we're watching a lesbian, try and come to terms with everything that's happened to her mother and all of that. right? So we're seeing that in episode 1. And then in episode 2, confronting the system, right? This is people talking about, right, the issues, being faced, right? The initiatives and schemes and like social work and stuff like that. There was a really interesting conversation with a lady, Nakuset, right? And she she works in like social services, right? And now, right, but she's worked for 25 years with the Native Women's Shelter in Montreal. And she started off as a frontline worker, and she talked about, right, because, another issue is sometimes a lot of these charities and schemes that have been set up to help a particular group or community, as such, it's not always, it hardly ever is, managed by people from that community, people from that group. So when it comes to then helping, they don't really know. So they will go, oh, we should do this. And it's oftentimes things that aren't necessarily wanted. You know what I mean? Right? So, Nakuset, she was talking about being a frontline worker and coming to her managers and being like, look, I am seeing these issues. I think we could do these things. We could do more to help. And her suggestions being shrugged off, right? Like, well, you're just a frontline worker. What do you know? So she then made it a point to move up, to evolve within the organization, because only in senior management can you actually influence things. Right, so that's what she did. So now she's the executive director. But even then, right, she's talked about going to organizations, right, looking for help and being told, we're only hearing this from you. Like, if more people come to us, then we'll consider doing something, right? So then she had to go away and rally other organizations and groups to come forward to form a coalition, right? And then they were able to get this organization to do something, right? So there are all of these barriers in place, which is so crazy, right? When the mission, when the goal is meant to be empowering, in helping a community, and that's not happening, right? And you're having to fight to try and get changes made, right? Because essentially sometimes, right, if you don't look like the masses, you can be viewed as inferior, right? Other than. And so you're not being offered the same resources as the masses. So all of these things are looked at over the course of just these first 2 episodes, right? And there's more to come, people. There's more to come. So episode 3 is The Power of Woman. Episode 4 is Our Youth. Episode 5 is Hear Us. And episode 6 is Finding a Path Forward. So, all of these things, right, get looked at and addressed, you know what I mean, over the course of this series, right? It's airing every Sunday, and it's then coming. Hold on, let me just pull up the exact facts for you. Okay, dokie. So, yeah, it's airing every Sunday, and then it gets, so at 9 p.m., right? 9 p.m. Eastern, and it will then start from the beginning again on Sunday, the 24th of November, again at 9 p.m. Eastern, right? So if you haven't been able to catch it on the first run, right, it started on the 12th of October, right? So, we're about halfway through right now. So if you've missed some of the episodes, do not fear. Mark it down in your calendar, the 24th of November, because that is when you will get the opportunity to, start from the beginning, right? Catch up on those episodes that you haven't been able to catch, right? The website is a really good resource. There are a lot of the interviews on there, right? There's bios of the team. There's just more information, right? Different resources, things such as that. So all of that will be on the webpage for this episode, people. So make sure that you check it out, because this is an extremely important subject. You know what I mean? Like, domestic violence is, it's abhorrent, right? It's something that needs to be stomped out, because everyone should be able to feel safe, especially in their own home, right? So, people, give this a look, right? So, Arnaapik, it is airing every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern, and people, links will be on the webpage. So, do your thing, check it out, right? Expand your mind and thinking.